Welcome to the Dominance series. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be discussing everything dominance. If you have any questions or comments that you want me to address about dominance, put that down in the comment section below, and I'll try to make a piece of content addressing that. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into today's topic, which is what dominance taught me about women. Now, I have to put this disclaimer. Listen to this disclaimer. This is for mature audiences only. Dominance is a tool. This is a tool, which means it can be used for many purposes. Do not play around with this. This is not a toy. This is not something you use because you want to get a high off of being dominant, because you will quickly ruin your life because you're using it out of context. Are you understanding me? So for the purpose of this video, the whole purpose of why I'm making this video, this is for romantic relationships between consenting adults and or women who are open to your leadership, period. If you find yourself getting excess resistance, leave them alone. This is not something you force. Do not force it. If it's not effortless or semi-effortless, leave it alone. This can lead, not listening to this can lead to a loss of your career, some type of legal trouble, or even you being gravely injured because you use it on the wrong person. You understand? You have been warned. All right. Let's go ahead and I have to make that disclaimer because when I talk to guys, I'm like, oh yeah, you're not socially intelligent. You're going to use this in a horrible way and it's going to lead you down a lot of trouble. And I have a quick story about that, but I'm going to save that towards the end. So let's just go ahead and get into it. What dominance taught me about women. The first thing that dominance taught me about women is that women are highly susceptible to dominance. In my experience, and to keep things simple, there are three types of women. The first one is the highly submissive women. Usually these are hyper feminine or just really feminine women, or women who they themselves would say that they are submissive. Usually these types of women require a higher dominance simply because they are open to that dynamic or that relationship. And so if you're going to be dealing with a highly submissive woman, you're going to have to be more dominant than the other two simply because she is receptive to dominance at a deeper level, if you get my drift there. So there's the highly submissive. Then there's what I would call the neutral, which is a woman who will, she'll take it, but then there's sometimes she'll leave it. She's kind of going back and forth between it. I know there's a lot of guys out there that cannot commit to being highly dominant, and that's fine. That's where these neutral women come in. Neutral women are like, yeah, I like a dominant man, but I don't like when it's too much. And I know there's a lot of guys out there that they're like, you know what, I like being dominant, but I have levels, right? And so that's perfect for a neutral woman. And again, these women will communicate this to you either with her actions, or if she's self-aware enough or mature enough, she'll be able to communicate it to you. So those are the only two that I really want you to be using this to. The last one, and I really want to touch on this is the highly resistant woman. Stay far away from these women. You want to stay far away from these women. Here's what I've learned in my findings, in my experiences of highly resistant women. Highly resistant women are highly susceptible to dominance. They are. However, they can't stand the fact that they absolutely despise it. And you'll know it because while she'll give you the sign that she's highly susceptible to it, she will purposely do the opposite of what you tell her to do because she hates feeling that, what we're going to talk about in the next couple of points here. She hates feeling like that. She hates that she's susceptible to that. And so she makes it a conscious effort to resist it. If you find any type of woman who is being not even annoying, she's being resistant on purpose, leave her alone. Leave her alone. The power that is in dominance is when you present that this is what it is and the woman comes to you or she follows your leadership willingly. This is not something you force, okay? And I'm going to keep saying that over and over again because if you feel like you have to chase, if you feel like you have to force it, you're already on the wrong path, okay? And what you're doing is instead of solidifying your dominance, you are undermining your dominance, and you're going to switch your energy from dominant to submissive. You understand what I'm saying? So, okay. Again, highly submissive women, there are three types. Highly submissive women, you want to you definitely use your dominance for them, and they're going to give you consent on that. They're going to follow your actions. They're going to show you that it's okay. Then there's neutral women. All that takes is communication to understand where both of your lines are as far as dominance goes. Fine. And then there's highly resistant women. Stay away from highly resistant women. I can't stress this enough. Highly resistant women are the ones that will get you in a lot of trouble. Okay? So just let's throw that out there. Okay, so yeah, women are highly susceptible to dominance. Once you're in that position, once you're in a dominant position, or you decide to constantly take that position, very important, because you're going to have a lot of opportunities to be dominant, and it's up to you to continuously take that position. Women will naturally follow you. This is something that if you're not used to doing this, it's going to be a lot easier to understand once you gain some experience. If you have some experience, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. Just by you taking the leadership position, a lot of women will see like, okay, yeah, he's in that dominant position, and he's actually doing it. It's not some act. He's not trying to do it to get some box, right? This is who he naturally is, or this is who he's choosing to be in this moment. A lot of women will naturally follow you for that. Very easy to practice things like that. One, leading a date. I tell people, and I feel like this is common knowledge, but from the conversation that I've been having with guys and women, apparently it's not. Whenever you are planning a date, I always have the date finished from point A to point B. I have it all figured out. And I even have a backup in case there's a wrench thrown in the process, right? If I'm going to 3 different places, whatever those 3 places are, if the second place is closed, I have a backup for that, okay? From beginning to end, I have the date planned. So that way, when she's in my presence, when she's under my leadership, she doesn't have to worry about where we're going or what we're doing. I'm already leading that. Does that make sense? And just by you doing that, a lot of women will follow your leadership. Highly submissive women are not going to question you. They're just going to follow you and then be put where you place them. Neutral women, somewhat of the same thing. Usually they're pretty on code about this because this is socially acceptable. And you're usually, she might ask you questions here and there, but it's not going to be any type of real resistance. Highly resistant women, they're not going for it. They're always going to question it. You're going to be like, okay, we're going to go get tacos. She's going to be like, no, let's not get tacos. Let's go get not burritos. Let's go get burgers, or let's go get steaks, or let's go get sushi. And you're like, okay, no, we're going to go to this bar. She's like, no, let's not go to the bar. Let's go to a putt-putt, right? This is resistance. Okay. And highly resistant women, what they do is they like to play these little games because they want you to turn it up. They want you to turn up that dominance and be like, no, we're going to do this. But trust me when I say this is a trap. It's a trap. You do not want to feel like you have to force anything. If she's not naturally following you, then that's not somebody you want to deal with. Okay. Just imagine you're in a workplace and your boss is like, hey guys, we're going to go this way. And somebody in the employee is like, no, we're going to go the other way. Everybody's going to look at that person like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Know your place. And that's exactly what's going on here. If you feel like you have to be changing and going back and forth, you're with the wrong type of woman. Get rid of her. All right. Let her fend for herself. All right. So yeah, leading a date, knowing where to go. The next one is solving problems confidently. Whenever a problem comes up, you don't ask her, oh, well, what do you think we should do? Or, what do you think is going to happen? You immediately take the problem, solve the problem, and start executing on that problem. Even if you don't understand what to do, you still walk confidently to figure it out, right? I don't know about you guys. I feel like as a man, we have these problem solving skills that are innate to us, that we look at problems and we immediately want to solve them. And I think that's simply because we know that if that problem gets big enough, we're going to have to be the ones to fix it anyway. So we're going to try to hurry up and fix it now. However, a lot of guys don't have that mentality of where problem happens. Let me go ahead and try to solve it. Let me go ahead and try to solve it. And then if I need her help with anything, I'm going to tell her to go here, do this, and X, Y, Z. All right. Again, highly submissive women, they're going to take that naturally submissive place. They're going to stay in their place. They're going to do whatever it is that you ask. And let me say this, they're going to naturally follow you and naturally do everything that you say, because as a leader, you're making decisions that's in the best interest of her and yourself. You understand? This is why I said this is not a toy. This is not something you're like, hey, go over here and do this because you want to see somebody do something and you get a high off being a dominant. Don't do that. You're going to mess it up for you, not only yourself, but that woman and for everybody else. Okay. So again, each decision that you're making is because it's the best interest of you and for her. That's how highly submissive women work, because they trust in your leadership. Neutral women, they kind of have their guard up a little bit. They'll let you lead, but when something's fishy, they're like, I'm not going to do that, right? So it really depends on what level of dominance you want to be in as a man, okay? So again, that's number one. Women are highly susceptible to dominance. There's the three type of women: highly submissive, neutral, and the highly resistant. Stay away from the highly resistant. Take the leadership position when you can. Again, romantic relationships. Do not ask this woman what she wants to do on a date. You plan a date and she's going to show up and you're going to lead. And again, it depends on who you're talking to and how high you want to say your dominance is. There are guys who are in the neutral category where you guys can have that discussion. Like, hey, would you like to do this? She's like, nah, I'm not really into that. And you're like, okay, well, let's plan something. That's fine. Do whatever you guys need to do. But again, if the more that you go, the more that you're on a highly submissive woman, the more dominant you're going to have to be. And some of these conversations you're not going to want to have. So that's going to be the end of number one. Number two, the second thing that I learned, that what dominance taught me about women, is women want to be placed in subservient positions. This one is going to be controversial if you're not in this space. If you're not a person who is a practitioner in this, or if you're not a person who knows how to communicate with individuals, it's very easy to look on the outside and judge people who are putting women in subservient positions. I've learned that dominance has taught me that women want to be put in their place. And again, I'm talking about two different types of women: the highly submissive woman and the neutral woman. Honestly, I really gear towards highly submissive. I don't really like dealing with neutral women or highly resistant women. Again, highly resistant women, stay away from them. It's going to lead you to trouble. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm telling you. They're gonna fall for the trap. She's like, oh, I just want a guy to put me in my place. I just want to, yeah, okay. Let me. What she's going to do is she's going to set up a social situation to where you're gonna force it and put her in her place. And at any point, if she were to call the cops or if she were to do something, you're gonna be the bad guy every single time. There's no way around it. You're not gonna be like, oh, well, she implied that she wanted to be. Yeah, no. We stay away from that altogether. It's either consent or no consent at all. And I don't even want to deal with a person who has to question it. Okay, so again, women want to be placed in subservient positions. Okay, women want to be put in their place. They want to be corrected. They want to feel small. And again, this is something on the outside looking in, it's very easy to judge. But if your partner, your girlfriend, your wife, your whoever she is to you, if she is under your leadership and she comes to you and tells you like, hey, listen, there are some things that's going to happen and I'm going to need you to be hard on me, that's between you and her. It doesn't matter how it is on the outside. I'll give you an example. There was a woman that I was involved with, highly submissive, okay? And the way that she worked, if she was in a high pressured situation or something that required quick thinking, she wouldn't lean on logic or structure or foundation. She would only rely on her emotions. And when I had this conversation with her of like, do you notice that you do this? Because usually, again, when you're trying to make an emotional decision, you're going to make a bad decision. And I'm like, do you understand that you do this? And she was like, yeah, I do understand it, but I'm not really knowing what's going on. So what we have come to the conclusion is, in those moments, in order to snap her out of it, you as a man, as a dominant man, which was me, I had to raise my voice and really be stern with her in the moment to snap her out of it. Okay. So I want you to understand what that looks like in a public setting. That looks like, hey, XYZ, pay attention. If you looked over, if you were just having dinner or something and somebody said, hey, Sabrina, pay attention, you're going to look over there and be like, what the fuck is wrong with that guy? Who is, like, everybody socially is going to be like, what? They're going to judge you for it. And again, this is where guys like me are always getting a bad rap. And it's simply because people are judging and they have a lack of understanding. They don't communicate with the girl that I'm communicating with. And this is what we decided that has to happen in order for her to be in a place that she wants to be in. They don't look at that, and I'm not going to explain it, which is why, as a dominant man, as a masculine man, you have to be okay with being a bad guy. That's what it is. You have to be okay with being a bad guy. You have to be okay with looking like an asshole. You have to be okay with just overall being perceived as negative to other people. But the beautiful thing about that is usually people mind their business. Okay. But every so now and again, you might get somebody who wants to come in and save this woman who's consented to being there. And that you honestly, I don't hope it happens, but if it happens, you have such a trump card for the social situation simply because all you have to do is ask them, do you know this person? Have you communicated with this individual? Do you know her strengths? Do you know her weaknesses? Right? And again, they're going to say no. All that's going to do, the reason why they're stepping in is because you don't match their ideal or idea of what dominance looks like or what a man in a relationship looks like. And that makes them selfish because they didn't communicate with you. They didn't communicate with her. They don't know her goals. They don't know her weaknesses. They don't know the things. What they're doing is they don't like seeing it for them. And so they place that onto you. And if you're socially intelligent, you can very easily word that in a way that makes the other person feel like a moron or an idiot for not just minding their business. Okay. Because again, this is why it works, because these are consenting adults who are following your leadership. All right. So sometimes you might have to raise your voice at your woman. Sometimes you might have to be demanding. Your woman may be the type to where you're doing something and she'll say something that alludes to her taking control. And even though I don't think consciously they understand, some do consciously. Some are very consciously aware of this. Usually those are highly resistant. But again, they're consciously aware of that. You have to make sure you make that correction. You have to make sure that you are letting her know that you're the one in charge here. And usually if I have some type of correction like that, I always want to reiterate it by asking a question. It's like, between you and me, who's in charge here? Okay. And again, if you're with a highly submissive woman, she's going to say you're in charge. If you're with a neutral woman who you have some rapport with, she's going to say you're in charge. If you have a highly resistant woman, she's going to be like, we're both in charge. She's going to say some bullshit, dude. And I'm telling you, it's not worth it at all. They're always going to play with you. They're always going to play games with you. And it's annoying and a waste of time. All right. But yeah, so they want you to be dominant as far as either physically, mentally, intellectually, emotionally, all of the above. So if you feel like there's going to be a correction, don't be afraid to hurt her feelings. Sometimes you're going to have to hurt her feelings in order to place her in that subservient position. But what a lot of people don't know, like I said, when you're doing this, you may feel or look like a bad guy, but in reality, that's where she wants to be. And if she doesn't want to be there, two adults are going to communicate about it. You understand what I'm saying? This is why this is so important. She will communicate that. And if she doesn't communicate that, then that's on her, really. That's on her, unless you really feel like you have to question her and you'll take her to the side, whatever. Okay. So again, they want to feel small. I was dealing with a woman who she wanted to feel small. She wanted to be shut down. She wanted to be, essentially dominated in that sense. So if I'll give you an example. When you're with a person, they may start off a certain way, but then the moment they get comfortable with you, all of a sudden, it starts to relax a little bit. It's up to you to really put your foot on the neck, or at least stand your ground when it comes to these things, and don't let chinks in your armor. So, for example, you're having a conversation with a woman, you guys are talking, or maybe, you're in a little debate or something, or, you're just kind of talking it out. What I see common is when I was talking, I would be finishing my point, and then she would jump in to start making her point. And it happened, the first time I peeped it, I was like, okay, I'm going to keep it going, which is a mistake. I shouldn't do that. But the second time it happens, I immediately interrupted what she was saying. And I was like, who's talking right now? And then usually when you have that reset like that, they'll understand what's going on, and they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, you're talking. And it's like, yeah, I'm talking. So shut the fuck up when I'm talking to you, right? That last part, a lot of guys will be like, oh man, that's excessive, man. That's too far, man. That's too far. You're too harsh, man. But again, if you're with a woman who wants to feel small, that type of statement said in that way is going to make her like, okay, let me sit back in my place and in this subservient position. And I listen, I'm not going to promise you, but I will say this: when you do this for the first time with your woman, you're going to notice her go right back and feel that, and that's something that she's going to be into. And again, if she's not, have that conversation. You have to understand who these women are before you're just out here willy-nilly doing whatever. All right. So that's number two. Women want to be placed in subservient positions. They want to be put in their place. They want to be corrected. They want to feel small. And it's up to you to be able to have the nuts to do that. The third thing that dominance has taught me about women is women are led by their emotions. They're led by society, and they're led by other women. When a woman does not have, when a woman does not have a foundation or a structure, she's going to be led by her emotions, number one. Being led with emotions usually has a lack of foundation and a lack of structure. That's where you're going to come in and you're going to offer structure, you're going to offer foundation, and she's going to now be entered into your training program. Your training program is simply letting her know this is okay, this is not okay, and I expect this of you. You know, I got flack because I use the word training, and a lot of people are like, oh, what is she, a dog? Right? But it's like, I mean, no other context where people question this. If you go to your first day of work, you're going to orientation, or they're going to train you. You know, you're going to go through training. And so, you know, for whatever reason, when it comes to the context of relationships, all of a sudden, it's a completely different level of expectations and wording that you have to use. And honestly, bro, once you're past the age of, I would say about 26, you kind of realize that as a man, you're just going to have to roll with the punches and say, fuck everybody else. And this is one of those things. I'm not looking for social acceptance of my relationship. My relationship is meant to serve me and the person I'm in a relationship with. And as long as I'm not harming any outside people in doing this, then it is what it is. They can kiss ass, right? So that's what it is. So again, the first thing is women being led by their emotions. When they're led by their emotions, they lack a foundation and they lack a structure. And you come in and offer training. Now, this ties into the second one, which is women want to be placed in subservient positions, because usually because she has a lack of foundation or lack of structure, you coming in with your program, she has to start adapting to your program. So you're going to correct her. Again, women like to be corrected. You have to put her in her place in certain things, and you have to make her feel small in certain moments so she understands that this is not her place when it comes to XYZ. Again, highly submissive women are going to be very susceptible to this. Neutral women you guys are going to have a conversation to where she's susceptible to this. Highly resistant women are going to resist. They are going to, oh, well, why? Well, no, I'm thinking about this. This is a team effort. This is a partnership. This is a woo, 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 woo. Stay away from those women. Stay away from them. It's so important because you'll fall for the okie doke. She's going to use that resistance to put you in a subservient position. And if you're in a subservient position, she's going to hate that you allowed her to put you in a subservient position. It's fucking goofy. It's so goofy. And I know a lot of you probably have dealt with that. Let me know some stories in the comments. All right. So again, emotions, they're being led by their emotions. The next thing is they're being led by society, which is social acceptance. Being led by society is to seek attention and validation from others and not the dominant force in your life. Let me say that again. Being led by society is to seek attention and validation from other people, which is other people in the society, and it's not being led by the dominant force in your life. Your woman. Now, usually I say this, it's much easier to understand as a man that you're not seeking attention and validation from other people. You're seeking attention and validation from yourself. Okay. If you're religious, you're seeking it from God, right? But you're seeking this from yourself because this allows you to operate in a way that pleases you and suits you and doesn't give other people power to manipulate you into doing things just to seek their attention and validation, because you're old enough to know that there are a lot of people who will never give you attention or will never give you that validation. They're just going to string you along. Okay. So you have to make sure that you are the dominant force in your life, or if you're religious, that you have a religious force in your life and you're offering that to that woman as well, because her natural instinct is to follow society. And society, guys, look at society now. It's not somebody you want to follow. It's not something that you want to follow. It's going to lead you down death and destruction. And so when you're doing that, when you decide to come in with your program, you have to make sure that it's clear. And by having a conversation, you're not seeking the approval of others. You're seeking the approval of me. You understand what I'm saying? And when you have this conversation with highly resistant people or individuals who are from the outside looking in, they're going to try to tear you apart. This is why, as a man, you don't seek attention and validation from all these other people. I don't care how people feel about it. This is how I operate because I have tangible results. And that's the thing that you're going to realize. You're going to operate in this way that's going to feel backwards to society. But then again, when you look at society and you ask for their results, they're not going to have the results that they seek. However, you operating in this way, you're going to have the results. And so who's really in the right here? Okay. And so that's number two. So they're being led by their emotions, and they're being led by society, which is social acceptance. And the last one is they're being led by other women. And the reason why a lot of women are being led by other women is because they're trying to avoid being targeted. I'm going to tell you guys a deep secret about women, a very deep secret about women. A lot of women do not mention this. I mean rarely. And listen, I get deep into psyches. I know how to communicate. I know how to get to places. And even with all of that, I rarely hear about these occasions, but I know that it's true for damn near 95% of women. You ready? Every woman has had this experience. It either happened in elementary school, maybe in middle school, maybe in high school, maybe even college. Usually it happens very early, where she walks in with a happy-go-lucky attitude. Everybody's fair, everybody's cool, I'm nice, they're nice, and she's going to meet her first enemy that is a woman. And this woman is going to be ruthless. Okay. And this is something, this is my last one. It's being led by women is usually out of a need for belonging and fear. And why am I saying fear? And it's because I understand that women are ruthless. For my men out there, if you've worked in a restaurant, front of house or back of house, you understand how ruthless women can be, because restaurants are usually women dominated because of the waitresses. You understand how ruthless women can be. If you work in the medical field, you're a nurse, you understand how ruthless women can be towards other women, okay? And so a lot of women have that experience young of going against the grain and having a group, or a small group of women or a large group of women, actively target her in the worst way. I had a woman tell me, she's like, hey, can you go up to Sarah and tell her that she has a secret admirer? And I'm like, why? Again, I'm a child. I'm like, why? And she was like, well, we're just trying to make fun of her. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what in their right mind would do some shit like that? Who would do that? I'm like, oh, did she do something to you? And they were like, no. And I'm thinking, like, what the? And again, I didn't understand what was happening at the time. And of course I didn't do it. But the thing about it is, they'll make up rumors. Bro, it's freaking it's ruthless. Just take my word on it. And again, if you have any stories about this, gentlemen, put this in the comment section. All right. So yeah, being led by women is usually out of need for belonging and fear. So again, it's up to you that when she comes to you under your leadership and she's like, yeah, let's do this, you come in with your program and you're saying, hey, this is what it is. This is how it operates. You're changing her reward system that says you don't seek attention and validation from society. You don't seek attention and validation from other women. You seek attention and validation from me as the dominant force in your life. Whenever a woman comes up to me or I hear her online or whatever, and she's talking some nonsense, the first thing I want to ask is, who's the dominant force in your life? I obviously don't say that, but I ask, what does your father think about that? Whenever somebody comes out with something crazy as a woman, just ask her what her father thinks about that. Either she didn't have a father, she didn't grow up with a father, or she doesn't respect her father, and that's clear. And then I ask, okay, well, what does your brother think about that? What does your uncle think about that? Who is the dominant force in your life? And if she doesn't have some type of dominant male force in her life, then I know that she is not used to masculine leadership, and she's already lost just off rip. So that's going to conclude today's video. Again, this is what dominance has taught me about women. I have a lot more that I actually want to talk about, and I'm going to be making it in future videos. So if you have any questions, comments that you want to put, let them know down in the description. If you made it this far, if you made it to the end of the video, type in dominance ready, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.